Okay, we are moving on to our next story. Before we do so, if you haven't had a chance, go ahead and smash that like button. That helps me out with the algo. Thank you very much. Kudos. This next story is a little bit different. It's a little bit of nostalgia for me. Okay, a little bit of nostalgia. Those of you that grew up during that time when Britney Spears and Justin Timberlake, NSYNC, Backstreet Boys, that era, right? You know as well as I do that these people were huge at that point in time. Now, I don't know. I know there's some people in the chat that weren't born yet when they were really popular. But you got to understand, at that point in time, there wasn't a person that I knew that didn't like either NSYNC or Britney or didn't have like the posters or something of their memorabilia. Like they were huge. I loved NSYNC. I remember like my friend got the video. I'm showing my age here. My friend got the VHS. My friend got the VHS tape of Darren's dance grooves. And Darren was a choreographer. And apparently it was brought to my attention that Darren actually had choreographed several dances for NSYNC songs and Backstreet Boys and all that stuff. And so one day Darren came out with a videotape to show you how to do the dances. So my friend had Darren's dance grooves. We had like a big Darren's dance grooves like party get together kind of thing. And we were just like, ain't no lie, baby. Bye, bye, bye. So yeah, it was like, anyway, that was like a very fun time, especially for those who like to dance and if you were into pop music. Apparently something else happened during that time. And I want to get into that story. Now, for those who are not aware, Britney Spears actually just released a book. And that book has actually just broke record. Britney Spears has already broken the Guinness World Record for the fastest selling nonfiction book of all time, which was set by Prince Harry with 3 million copies in the first week. The Woman in Me has already sold 9 million in pre-orders alone. So pretty big, right? Pretty big. During that time, the time of NSYNC and Britney and all that stuff, at one point, if some of you remember, Britney Spears and Justin Timberlake had a relationship. It was a real relationship. Britney admits in this book, some people thought it was just for publicity at the time. But as she reveals in this book that it was real and she was very much in love with Justin Timberlake. But there's something else that actually just came out now that none of us knew back then. And I don't think if you even take me back to then that I could try to figure it out. We have to start with the fact that obviously the relationship ended. Now, Justin Timberlake kind of threw Britney Spears under the bus during that point in time, but this ain't the first time we watched him kind of just throw his counterpart or his comrade under the bus and run away. Let's go back to the Super Bowl show with Janet Jackson. But he said that she was unfaithful towards him, that she cheated on him, and that's why the relationship ended. But now that may not necessarily be the case, because in a recent story, what has been revealed from that book is that Britney Spears has said that during that time, during her relationship with Justin Timberlake, that she actually became pregnant. Let's get into it.
We're back now with a major revelation from pop icon Britney Spears.
In an excerpt from her new book called The Woman in Me, provided to People magazine, Spears said she had an abortion as a teenager after a pregnancy with Justin Timberlake. For more on this, let's bring in Kellen Rosenblatt. She's NBC News' youth and internet culture reporter. Great to have you with us. Good morning, Kellen. So this abortion bombshell is really what everybody is talking about so far in what we've seen from the book. What exactly does she say happened, and how does she feel about it now?
Good morning, Savannah and Joe. So Britney Spears talks about being deeply in love with Justin Timberlake at the time. And although they weren't really ready for this, she said she'd always anticipated starting a family with him and that they were going to share their futures together. So when he said that he wasn't ready to be a father, she said it was a really difficult decision for her. She said she has since agonized over this decision and that it's been a really big challenge for her. And fans are really empathizing with what she says in this book about being.
Let me pause there for just a second. So Britney Spears has revealed in this I'm assuming tell-all book, that not only was she pregnant by Justin Timberlake during that time, but that she also had an abortion. And from what I have read and what you're going to see as well, it's very clear to me that she didn't want to do that. Now, you have to understand at that point in time, they were still young. Britney Spears was still a teenager when this happened. But what she's saying, what the commentator's saying here, when she said that Britney Spears has revealed that this has bothered her for all this time, I'm going to connect this to another story of another musician that went through a similar thing, that said it's been bothering them for years. I think it's different when, and I believe in a woman's right to choose. I think it's different when this is what you want to do. This is what you want to do. You know, this is just not the right thing for you. It's not the right time. Or there's other issues as well. That's different. But I think it's another thing when you don't want to do that and your partner says, I don't want to be a father. Take care of it. Again, we got to think about the time. She was still a kid. Let's continue.
Really conflicted about having this abortion after falling pregnant in her either early teens or her late teens or her early 20s.
And has Justin Timberlake responded at all to the book or to this claim?
People magazine had reached out to Justin Timberlake, but no reps have responded yet for him.
All right.
I have a response from him. We'll get to that in just a second.
So the Free Britney movement, of course, was a huge part of her being released from her conservatorship. How are they reacting to this revelation?
Yeah, so fans online are really heartbroken for Britney. They say, Justin Timberlake has in the past been under scrutiny for some of his treatment around Britney Spears or how some of that relationship shook out. So now fans are really reassessing some of the music from that time. They're saying they're really heartbroken over the song Cry Me a River. They feel like that might have been in poor taste. They're reassessing Britney Spears' old songs, the song Everything, and wondering if that possibly was about this really hard decision. Some are saying that they felt, the couple was very young at the time and that maybe this was for the best. But many people are expressing their heartbreak for Britney Spears having this decision to make and living with it afterward.
Let's pause here for just a second because there's something else that I want to bring up about those two songs. Let's remember, Justin Timberlake leaving NSYNC, starting his solo career. The song Cry Me a River, if you go back and watch the music video, the girl in the video looks like Britney. She's dressed like Britney Spears. It was very clear that the song was about Britney, and Justin made it seem like it was because of her infidelity. And that's clearly, if you're listening, that's what the song is about. But now it kind of seems like, now knowing what we know, that there was also an abortion that took place that she clearly did not want to do. Now it makes you wonder, was it really fair for Justin to, he basically profited off of that pain and convinced other people that it was just about the breakup and that song Cry Me a River about the cheating, when in actuality, there was something much more serious that was going on there. And listen, Justin's career took off from that. The song that she's referring to in reference to Britney called Every Time, where she talks about, her behavior causing her significant other pain. Now I look at that song a little bit differently because I thought that song was about her infidelity and that made her spouse, which is Justin, that made her spouse, hurt. That hurt him. But now I look back at that song and I wonder, maybe that song was about the abortion. Very different.
I know also it sounds like Britney reached out to some fans through social media, responded to them, and said that she struggled to write this book. Tell us what we know that she's told some fans.
Yeah, so earlier in the summer, Britney Spears posted and said that she needed a lot of therapy to be able to write this book. And in a recent post, she even said that writing this book for her was almost like going back through a yearbook. Some memories were really happy and beautiful, and some were really painful. So this was delving back into deep wounds to be able to tell her story in her own words.
Let's pause there. So one thing I want to say in reference to the book, we got to remember Britney Spears didn't have control over her own life, over her own money. Like she had to, as a grown woman, she had to ask like for permission to even buy like a scarf if she wanted to buy a scarf. Like her dad controlled all of her money and her decisions. She couldn't even make business dealings like on her own. It had to go through her dad as she was an adult. Imagine being a 40-year-old woman and you're not even allowed to make any decisions in reference to your financial decisions or what kind of jobs and stuff that you want to take as well. Now, Justin Timberlake did respond. And I want to show you this. I don't know why that's playing. Stop. There we go. Justin Timberlake did respond. It says that Justin Timberlake is focusing on his own family amid Britney Spears' book and abortion claim. I'm sure you are. I'm sure you are, Justin. Let me make this larger. Sorry. Let me go down. I made it too large. Okay. Okay, this site is weird. I can't do it like that. Stop the video. I hate these sites that play like videos. Okay, here we go. In 2021, Timberlake was vocal about his support for Spears during her conservatorship battle. In a series of tweets, the My Love singer stood in solidarity with his ex. After what we saw today, we should all be supporting Britney at this time, regardless of our past, good and bad, and no matter how long ago it was. Timberlake wrote, "What's happening to her is just not right. No woman should ever be restricted from making decisions about her own body." So that was him responding to her conservatorship battle. Kind of interesting, huh? He went on to say, "No one should ever be held against their will or ever have to ask permission to access everything they've worked so hard for. Jess and I send our love and our absolute support to Britney during this time. We hope the courts and her family make this right and let her live however she wants to live." So we know her conservatorship ended November of 2021. Now, let me fast forward here. Oh, whoops. I think I skipped ahead. Sorry about that, guys. Over the past 15 years, or even at the start of my career, I sat back while people spoke about me and told my story for me. After getting out of my conservatorship, I was finally free to tell my story without consequences from the people in charge of my life. So The Woman in Me is available for pre-order and is set to be released on October 24th. So what they said here, did I skip a part? I did skip a part. Okay, here it goes. Where am I? Yeah. Spears and Timberlake, 42, dated from 1999 to 2002. Inside of her highly anticipated memoir, the Not a Girl, Not Yet a Woman singer also writes about the first kiss she shared with Timberlake when they were kids, yada, yada. And then it goes on to say Timberlake went on to marry Jessica Biel. Together, they share sons Silas 8 and Phoenix 3. Spears and ex-husband Kevin Federline are parents to sons Sean Preston and the other one. I think I skipped a part, but it is what it is. But anyway, basically, oh, here it is. Sorry, guys. When I enlarged this, somehow some part of this was skipped. Okay. Here's the response. A source tells me that with the upcoming release of Spears' memoir, the Crimea River singer is looking ahead. Justin has been focusing on his own family and trying not to concern himself with Britney's memoir. In recent years, Justin has tried to be supportive of Britney from a distance. They dated so long ago, but he still has respect for her. Justin and Jessica want everyone to grow and evolve instead of continuing to bring up the past. Yeah. And then she went on to say, it was a surprise, but for me, it wasn't a tragedy. So this is the difference here where she talks about finding out that she was pregnant. I love Justin so much. I was always expected us to have a family together one day. This would just be much earlier than I anticipated. Spears wrote about the pregnancy via People, but Justin definitely wasn't happy about the pregnancy. He said we weren't ready to have a baby in our lives, that we were way too young. Now, I want to make a connection here. This comment here. Neptune said this comment summed up the feelings towards Justin Timberlake after finding out what he's done to Britney Spears. Not Britney Spears says this issue isn't him not wanting to be a father. It's the timeline of it all. The abortion, the breakup, the every time video, and then him using the breakup and her trauma to absolutely catalyst his solo career when he knew she was suffering so much. The betrayal there is incredible. He should have used a condom if he wasn't ready. That's interesting. They were children, but they weren't. And they are both from the South, where pregnancy young isn't uncommon. Look at Jamie Lynn. Britney would have wanted that baby, even if the trajectory of her career may have changed. That's trauma in itself. It's not that he didn't want to be a dad. He was honest. Is that he capitalized off of her pain, was silent during her imprisonment, and has just been a truly awful friend to her. Now, I want to make a connection with another person that this happened to, that I feel like this isn't talked about much, but she mentioned it before. Similar situation. If you remember Chili from TLC, she came forward about this as well. Similar situation where she was young and she felt like she was pressured to. It says Rosonda Chili Thomas abortion story, which she once called one of the biggest mistakes. So let me scroll down here and get to that part. From the moment L.A. Reid and his then wife Pebbles formed TLC, they appointed producers Dallas Austin, Jermaine Dupri, and Marley Marl to work on the first album. Although Pebbles didn't want the girls to become involved with any producer, Chili and Dallas Austin started dating behind her back, and only the other girls knew about their relationship. However, even before TLC released their first album, 20-year-old Chili got pregnant. When Pebbles found out about it, she wanted to kick Chili out of the group and started looking for a replacement. According to Dallas Austin, he approached Pebbles on behalf of Chili and the other girls and asked her to reconsider the decision, explaining that not only was this the first record almost done, but Tion and Left Eye didn't want another girl in the group. A life-changing decision. According to Gossip, Chili, on the other hand, had decided not to have the baby and had an abortion for which Dallas allegedly paid $300. And that's Chili and Dallas Austin there. Years later, the singer confessed that the decision haunted her for almost a decade. I was so scared. I didn't know what to do and chose not to have it. She said in a VH1 interview, it was one of the biggest mistakes. Chili explained back then, being so young and with a music career ahead, she wondered how she could be a mom and deal with everything else at the same time. The singer explained that the experience changed her and she stopped being a strong person she'd always been. As she added, it messed me up. It broke my spirit. I felt like a gave in and I broke to what someone else wanted. I think that's supposed to be I gave in. Chili said she cried almost every day for nearly 9 years. And as a way of dealing with the guilt, she made it a resolution to have a baby with Dallas because the baby I didn't have was with him. So the point that I'm trying to make is this. This is another example of someone really young at that time, probably feeling kind of alone, not really wanting to make that decision. And Chili's been very, open and vocal about this. And notice it said that she cried for 9 years every day after that. The point that I'm trying to make is this: for the people saying, Why is Britney bringing this up all these years later? When someone has an abortion, that's not something you forget about. You will always remember that. Britney will always remember that. Chili will always remember that. That stays with you. You don't just forget that you had an abortion. And what I want to link it to is this: the music industry at that point in time. A lot of the people, especially the women, were fairly young when they were coming into the music industry. It wasn't just Britney. It was Christina. It was Jessica Simpson. Jessica Simpson has come forward about some things that happened when she came in very young. And it just seems like there's a lot of guidance that's missing. Chili felt alone. Britney felt alone. So I think the thing is, the fact that Britney is writing this book, and I'm ready for the next part 2 when you're ready, Eric. The fact that Britney is writing this book, this is basically her first chance to actually tell people what actually happened in her life. And now she can do so because she doesn't have the conservatorship. Meanwhile, everybody else has been telling her story. So that's something to think about. But it does make people look at Justin Timberlake with a side eye. And I say this because look, I told you, Justin is known to run. When Justin was on the Super Bowl performance with Janet Jackson and they got in trouble because he went to go do the dance and then we all know her boob fell out and all that kind of stuff. It's like Janet Jackson received a lot of the blame and Justin Timberlake just basically tucked his tail between his legs and like ran away. And she was the one blamed. She was the one who faced all the scrutiny. So that's something to think about. But I think everybody has the right, to tell their story, especially since if you've been prevented from doing so for such a long time.